Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Van Life with Steve. Thank you so much for joining the channel and sharing in the van life adventure. This week we're going to have a look at Fort McHenry in Baltimore, Maryland. Let's go ahead and take a look. So the next morning, arrived at Fort McHenry National Monument and Historic Shrine. For the museum, I guess you call it a museum, they have a ton of information on the War of 1812. That's one of the, I know personally for me, it's one of the lesser known wars, or one of the wars I was not very familiar with. But they have a ton of great information about the War of 1812. They have a film on Fort McHenry, and you want to make sure till you stay until the end because they have a very patriotic moment. I don't want to spoil it. Here's where they set up kind of almost like a trading post. Fort McHenry is best known for the role it played in the defense of the city of Baltimore during the Battle of Baltimore on September 13th and 14th of 1814, which was a part of the War of 1812. The commander of the fort was Major Armistead. It's also notable because during the Battle of Baltimore, Francis Scott Key, who was a young American lawyer aboard a British ship trying to negotiate the release of a prisoner, he witnessed the bombardment of the fort and was so inspired he wrote a poem that would go on to become our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Fun fact, we actually only sing the first stanza typically before football games and things like that. There's actually 4 stanzas or 4 sections. So that's why Fort McHenry is so notable. Fort McHenry is also the #1 place to visit in the city of Baltimore based on TripAdvisor. So heading back to the courtyard, we'll take a look at some of the rooms of the barracks and where Major Armistead's offices were. Okay, continuing through the fort, here's a look at an actual cannonball that struck the fort that was fired by one of the British ships during the battle. Here's a look at where they stored the gunpowder, and apparently it was a big thing to try to blow those up. Here's a look at a cell. This gentleman here, Henry Hall Brogdon, he was a prisoner during the Civil War, and he was sentenced to death because he was convicted of being a spy. And basically Abraham Lincoln invented a lesser crime for him so he wouldn't be put to death, and he was later traded in a prisoner exchange with the Confederacy. Here we'll take a look at the outer grounds of the fort. Seeing all this grass kind of gives me vibes of The Hobbit for some reason. Here's a look at one of the cannons from the War of 1814. Now as you look at these cannons here, they're on a fascinating kind of track system so they could aim them. And from what I recall, these are these cannons were cannons that were added after that War of 1812. So these were upgrades, I guess. But they're pretty big. Okay, now that we've had a look at the fort, we'll take a look here out at Baltimore Harbor. You can get an amazing view at the fort. The fort is basically also a park, and there's places where you can go walk, there are joggers there, places where you can sit down. It's a really, really great park, and you get a really great view of the harbor. Okay, before we make our way over to Federal Hill, if you're enjoying the video, please do me a favor and give me a like. If you're enjoying this content and want to see more, please subscribe. That would help me so much with the YouTube algorithm. And if you've been to Baltimore before, I'd like to know what your favorite parts were. Please leave me a comment below and let me know. Okay, thanks. Let's get back to the video. And now we're going to take a look at the inner harbor. A lot of boating action going on there. This is from the vantage point of around where the Under Armour World Headquarters is, I believe. But looking around, you definitely get this blue-collar, working-class city kind of vibe. So here's a look at Federal Hill. I had stopped and talked to some locals, and I asked them, hey, is there one more spot I really got to check out? And they said, yeah, you need to go to Federal Hill. You can get a great look at the harbor. And this is a really great park. I couldn't really drive the van up there. I had to park and walk a little bit, but it's a really nice chill spot. Here's a look at a robin. I believe that's a robin. And here's a fantastic view of the inner harbor. So the next day I'm heading up. We got to look here at the interstate. Coming up on the Benjamin Franklin Bridge. I'll have to make more time, or I'll have to make time to visit and explore Philadelphia thoroughly. I'd like to get a better look at that bridge. So I got off the interstate, I parked the van at Eastern State Pen. We'll get a great shot of the city here. And then not too far from there, it was a short walk. I made my way to the Philadelphia Art Museum, and you guys all know what's there. Yeah, I had to go run up those rocky steps. So this building's actually pretty big. It's bigger than I thought it would be. I didn't go inside. I think it was actually closed this day. And there's a look at where the Rocky statue was. A little disappointed it's still not in that spot. And Philly really wasn't on my itinerary, so I was really limited on my time here. So I really just took a quick look. And I went and I got my legs all stretched out. And I did some jumping jacks, and then we start racing up the stairs. Man, I really regretted not having the GoPro charged up. I don't know how it compares to Sly's time. You know, I got a backpack on and stuff. I think I did it in about 30 seconds. And I'll have to watch Rocky for next time I go and see how fast he did it and go and do it again. So they moved the Rocky statue down. I guess it makes it easier for tourists. And went down there and got a picture of it. Yeah, that was just kind of a short thing. After seeing the statue, I took a picture with it. I had to hop back in the van and continue north. Like I said, Philly was just kind of a quick stop. I couldn't drive right past those stairs and not take a jog up them. You got to be kind of careful though, because those stairs are a little shallow. They're not, you know, they're not as tall or whatever as regular stairs are. So you got to take many steps. You know, you got to chop up your steps because they're shallow, or you got to take them two at a time. You got to be careful because you could probably slip. But yeah, that was really fun. Okay, so a couple thoughts about Baltimore. I had wanted to do a tour of all the wire locations. I'm a big fan of that show. It's a great show. You should definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. However, when I was in town, or as I was driving around town, I noticed cars, they were stopping short of the intersection, or the white line. They were stopping short. And I talked to a couple locals and looked at the news. And so in Baltimore, they have what's known as squeegee boys. And these are guys when you're at a red light, they'll come up to your car and they'll basically wash your windshield and then they'll ask for money. Well, you had a sad situation where one of the squeegee boys got an altercation with a motorist, and the squeegee boy ended up killing the motorist. And I just felt like it was better to move on, and maybe when things calm down a little bit, visit the town at another time. Also, I'm just going to be real with you. The roads in Baltimore are terrible. There are potholes everywhere. I think it's probably, instead of having potholes in the roads, they have roads in the potholes, or covering the potholes, or whatever you want to call it. Everything in my van shook. The potholes were so bad, things on my van broke, and I'd re-screw things in and stuff. So the roads there are bad. Nothing against Baltimore or anything like that. I'm just telling you how it is. I also chatted with some locals around the Federal Hill or Fells Point area. And basically what I gathered was Baltimore thinks Washington, there's some friction between Baltimore and Washington. And Baltimore's blue collar, Washington's white collar. People in Baltimore think the people in Washington look down on them, and perhaps they do. But I talked to just some regular Baltimoreans or whatever they're called, and average people, they knew about the War of 1812, and they kind of, it's a matter of pride that, yeah, Washington was burned down, but, we repelled the British. And I thought that was an interesting thing, to where that was just common knowledge around your regular Baltimore citizens. And so I thought that was funny. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week is New York City. That's right, the Big Apple. We'll see you then. Take care. Bye.